All right, today we are diving deep into one of Punjab's most powerful and heartbreaking love stories. This is a legend that's literally woven into the culture, the songs, the poetry of the region, much like the river that lies at the very center of it all. This is the incredible story of Sohni Mahiwal.
That quote, it really just hits you, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of why this story is so important. This isn't just some old folktale. It's about a love that looked the world and its rules right in the eye and refused to back down. So let's get into why this legend has stood the test of time. So to start, you have to picture the scene. We're in the lush, fertile plains of Punjab, and it's here that we meet our heroine, a young woman whose life and destiny seem to be molded by the very ground beneath her feet. This is Sohni. Her dad was a master potter, a real artist with clay, and she grew up in his workshop, painting these beautiful, intricate designs on the pottery, and always watching the great Chenab River flowing nearby. Everyone in her town knew her for her gentle spirit and her grace, but there was also a quiet strength to her, a real fire inside.
Now you have to keep these two things in your mind, because they are everything in the story. First, there's the clay pot, a symbol of strength, of creation, of life. And then there's the river, a symbol of nature's power, a force that can give life but can also take it away. Both of these are going to play a huge role in her fate.
Okay, so into this quiet, artistic world, everything is about to get turned completely upside down. A wealthy merchant arrives from a faraway land. He thinks he's just there for business, for trade, but he has no idea that this trip is about to change his life forever.
His name was Izzat Beg. And this guy, he was a big deal. He wasn't just some merchant. He was from the famous city of Bukhara, and he rolled in with these huge caravans overflowing with silk and gold. He had it all. But the second he laid eyes on Sohni, none of it mattered anymore. He was just completely captivated. And this right here, this shows you just how massive his sacrifice was. He went from being Izzat Beg, the rich merchant prince, to Mahiwal, a simple keeper of cattle. He gave up all his wealth, his status, his entire former life, for what? Just for the chance to be near her. The local people even started calling him Mahiwal. He lost the world, you could say, but in his mind, he had found everything that mattered.
So, of course, their love begins to grow, but it had to be in secret. You see, in a world with such strict social codes, you just know that this kind of happiness was living on borrowed time.
Their love was considered completely forbidden. Why? Because it broke every rule in the book. Class, wealth, background, they were worlds apart. So when Sohni's parents eventually found out, they absolutely panicked. Their family's honor, their reputation, that's all they could think about.
And their solution was as swift as it was brutal. They forced Sohni into an arranged marriage with another potter, a man from a village far away. The idea was simple. If we put enough distance between them, the bond will break. But you can't just send someone's heart away in a carriage. Her body may have left, but her heart refused to move. It stayed right there with Mahiwal.
But this is where the story shifts. It stops being just a tragedy and becomes a true legend of defiance. Because even with a raging river separating them, Sohni flat out refused to accept her fate.
So what did she do? Every single night, under the cover of total darkness, she would grab a strong, baked clay pot, called a gara, and use it as a flotation device to swim across the treacherous currents of the Chenab. I mean, can you even imagine that level of courage? To face that cold, violent water night after night, all for love?
And the river itself became this incredibly powerful symbol. On the one hand, it was their greatest enemy, this constant life-threatening barrier. But on the other hand, it was also their sacred space. It was the only place in the entire world their love could be free, with no one to judge them, no one to watch them, except for the stars and the water.
But a secret that profound, a love that defiant, it just couldn't stay hidden forever. Jealousy was watching from the shadows, and it was getting ready to strike.
And the person who discovered her secret? It was Sohni's own sister-in-law. She was furious, seeing what Sohni was doing as a great dishonor to their family. And in her anger, she came up with a plan, a betrayal so cruel it's almost hard to believe. One day, she snuck in and switched the pots. She took the strong, fully baked pot that Sohni relied on, her lifeline, and replaced it with a raw, unbaked one. Now, to the touch, it would have seemed fine, but she knew that once it was in the water, the unbaked clay would simply dissolve. She took Sohni's symbol of hope and turned it into an instrument of betrayal.
It's just a chilling thought, isn't it? That someone could take the very tool of your survival and turn it into a death trap? How could their love possibly stand a chance against that kind of calculated evil?
And that brings us to the final, heartbreaking night. The night that this tragic love story was forged into a legend that would last forever. The river, they say, was a raging storm that night. Sohni, completely unaware of the betrayal, stepped into the water. Halfway across, in the middle of the churning current, the pot began to crumble. It just dissolved in her hands. As the river pulled her under, she used her last breath to cry out his name, Mahiwal, and he heard her. From the opposite bank, he heard her cry, and he didn't even hesitate. He leapt into that same raging river, choosing to die with her rather than live one more second without her. The Chenab River might have taken their bodies, but it couldn't touch their story. In death, their love became immortal. It's sung by Sufi poets, told by parents to their children. It's become this powerful, enduring symbol of pure devotion. And, just as importantly, a symbol of rebellion against a society that tries to build walls around the human heart.
And in the end, that's what their legend leaves us with. It makes us look at our own lives and ask some really big questions. In the face of impossible odds, what is love really capable of? What boundaries would you be willing to cross? It's a question that's just as powerful today as it was all those centuries ago.